Meghan Markle and Prince Harry are the black sheep of the royal family. From moving to California to releasing damaging tell-all stories, the Sussexes are all but cut off from the royal family. And if you thought the rift couldn't get any worse, well, you'd be wrong. Just last week, the Sussexes made another very public dig at the royals. Sky News All-Stars Paul Murray, Piers Morgan and Angela Levin take a look at the latest Harry and Meghan scandal that has tongues wagging. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have made a career out of betraying the royal family, and it looks like they're not about to retire anytime soon. Just last week, the couple accepted an invitation to attend the Bob Marley One Love movie premiere in Jamaica, which the Daily Mirror royal editor Russell Myers said was controversial.
In other news, it's been reported this week that Harry and Meghan have attended the Bob Marley film premiere in Jamaica. Do we know how that trip came about?
Well, quite unexpectedly. I think, nobody expected them to pitch up in Kingston, Jamaica, nice little holiday spot for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. But they were actually invited by the film premiere's producers. The production team thought that they'd be a fantastic addition for the premiere. But it really did set tongues wagging, because not only were they sort of pictured on the red carpet, this is very much a period where we expect them to be invited to, the big premieres, the big shows, the big award shows. However, they were pictured with the Jamaican Prime Minister, Andrew Holness. And if you remember, he was the man at the centre of the big scandal when the Prince and Princess of Wales went to Jamaica in 2022, when they were the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, of course. And he basically said, don't get too comfortable here. This will be the last time some members of the royal family come whilst we're still having a relationship before we become a republic. So very interesting that Harry and Meghan would put themselves at front and centre, not only at this event whilst the King and the Princess of Wales are in hospital, but to be pictured alongside such a divisive figure as Andrew Holness. And what that means for the relationship with the British monarchy was quite controversial indeed. I mean, to be fair to Harry and Meghan, some people will say they're more than entitled to go to these sorts of events. Damned if they do, damned if they don't, I suppose. But certainly controversy rages whenever they're involved, I think.
And there was a bit of critique around this, that's absolutely true. But is there really any substantive point to be drawn from this, though?
Well, it's interesting. I'm sure that the King and his advisors are looking at the issues of republics, and certainly it is on the rise, not only just at home but abroad. We're looking at sort of the Canadian levels of people who would potentially vote to ditch the monarchy. That is definitely happening in Jamaica. Antigua and Barbuda have signalled their intent to follow suit. And Andrew Holness has really been at the centre of this movement. It has been delayed over the last couple of years, but he was very much of the thinking once the late Queen passed away, there wouldn't really be a pace for Jamaica to have a relationship with King Charles. Now, that has stalled over the last few months, but I'm told by people in the country that there is an appetite to get that moving. Then the very fact that Harry and Meghan would be pictured with Andrew Holness sort of hobnobbing in that sort of arena really does beg the question of whether that was a good idea from them at all. But like I said, they are in a sort of brand new world of celebrity, and some people would say damned if they do, damned if they don't. So but possibly a bit unfortunate for them, or maybe they should have known better.
And prior to this, it came out that Harry and Meghan infuriated the late Queen Elizabeth by calling their daughter Lilibet, according to Sky News All-Star Piers Morgan.
Harry and Meghan. So a new book, a very authoritative book by a guy called Robert Hardman, is The Inside Track from the Royals. They've all collaborated with this book about the late Queen in particular, that she was far from approving Harry and Meghan saying they could call their daughter Lilibet, which was her private nickname given to her by Prince Philip and used by a tiny number of the family. She was furious and really upset. Another whopper from the Sussex Whopper machine.
And it's got to be so frustrating, because one of my favorite things about my family, the people in my family, is I know I can tell them anything, and they're going to not, even if we're fighting, they're not going to share that, right?
Yes.
They took family secrets and exposed everything, they don't seem to have any relationship with their family other than as a cash cow. Is how it was probably
And can I say quickly, and they lied about it.
Piers Morgan goes on to say that the new target of the Sussexes is unfortunately the late Queen.
Quickly, and they lied about it. I mean, repeatedly. Most of this stuff seems to be untrue.
Yeah, but I mean, this is great for them because the only time that they're ever in the news and the best thing for them at this point is to be feuding with the Queen, even now that she's dead.
Yeah.
It's true.
They're going to keep it going.
And Sky News All-Star Paul Murray, together with royal commentator Angela Levin, agree, saying Meghan Markle always had intentions to use the name Lilibet for commercial purposes.
Now, I was quite stunned to see that yet another book is starting to tell us what some of the insights were about the late Queen Elizabeth II, including that she was particularly put out by the decision of Harry and Meghan to name one of their daughters Lilibet, which of course was her nickname.
Yeah. Well, the author of the book is Robert Hardman, and he's a terrifically good writer, journalist, and has got in very politely with the royal family. It's absolutely riveting. It comes out on Thursday in the UK, but it's really riveting. And this thing about Lilibet is very interesting. I, at the beginning, thought that it was a terrible thing to do, to take a very private name and use it, because it was Queen Elizabeth, the late Queen Elizabeth, she couldn't say Elizabeth, so she could say Lilibet. So that's what she said about herself. So her parents called her that. And then the Duke of Edinburgh, her much-loved husband, called her that. And it was a very endearment word and very private. And couldn't believe that Harry and Meghan said gave them the go-ahead and it would be all right. Partly because Meghan had already put the name down of Lilibet Diana on a domain on the internet. And that meant quite obviously that in the future she would want to use that name to buy things, to promote programs and all those things. And it would inevitably draw the Queen into that, which I thought was beyond rude. So this aid, and one must remember that Robert does not just shove things down. He's well in with everybody there and knows what he's saying. That the Queen was upset, and she said that I don't have palaces and I don't have paintings, and now I don't have my name. And one of the aides said that she has never seen the Queen in all her many years being so angry.
Angela Levin then went on to slam Meghan Markle, saying she didn't name her daughter Lilibet as an ode to the Queen, but rather to seek revenge, knowing it would make her angry.
Years being so angry. And I think people have said, oh, well, Meghan wanted to be friendly. I think quite the opposite. I think she wanted to get her own back. And I think this was number 2, which followed that incredibly phony, exaggerated curtsy that she did on Netflix when they did a 6-hour boring moan about their lot. I think that it was something she wants to get her own back, and she wants to be nasty because she does still feel, she keeps on about feeling that she wasn't treated in the way she wanted to be. The way she wanted to be was Queen, because she doesn't like being second, third, fourth, and certainly not 6th in line for anything. And it's just awful. So now they're furious, apparently. Absolutely furious. So that's quite good.
And Sky News All-Star Esther Kraku further revealed that Buckingham Palace refused to corroborate Meghan Markle's story regarding the naming of her daughter.
Now, and are you surprised at all that the Queen was upset about this?
Yeah,
so this story is quite an interesting one because obviously the Queen is not alive to speak for herself, but these are claims that have arisen from King Charles's latest biography written by Robert Hardman, stating that the Queen was actually very angry. So apparently, courtiers that were close to the Queen said that she'd been as angry as they'd ever seen her over the fact that Harry and Meghan chose to name their second child, their daughter Lilibet. Now, I suspect it wasn't the fact that they chose that name for their daughter, but I think it was the way that it was done. So immediately after it was revealed that Harry and Meghan's second child was going to be called Lilibet, Harry and Meghan's PR team basically released a statement to the BBC and other media outlets here in the UK that actually that Harry had got explicit consent from the Queen. And the reason why I suspect they put out this statement is because everyone knows that Lilibet is a nickname for the late Queen because she wasn't able to say her name as a child, so she called herself Lilibet. And it's a close nickname that only members of her own family, her husband, her sister, the late Queen, Princess Margaret, used for her. But the problem is the Buckingham Palace refused to corroborate that story, and actually there was a bit of a kind of tension between Harry and Meghan's team and Buckingham Palace, because the palace refused to say actually yes, the Queen has given explicit consent. And I think it was the potential fallout from that stressed out the Queen, because it's not something that she was interested in dealing with. She wasn't interested in kind of developing a media tit for tat for the sake of Harry and Meghan saving face and saying actually the Queen gave her consent. I do suspect though that the Queen may not have necessarily consented in the way that Harry thinks she did. Because we know that the royal family are very traditional, and if she was happy to go ahead with this, or if she was happy for their daughter to have her nickname, which is something that only close friends and family call her, I think there would have been something written there. There would have been written evidence, and Harry and Meghan's team can say, look, the Queen says this is fine. Not that they necessarily have to ask her for permission, because it is a name and she doesn't own the name, but it is courteous and something that respectful people would do, particularly when you are of the notoriety of the Queen. I don't know if the words that the Queen allegedly used are accurate. It doesn't sound very much like her, but it's also quite foreign and unusual to hear direct words from the Queen that she hasn't uttered in a speech or anything like that, because we know that the Queen was very private and she was very discerning in the kinds of things that she said. But I do suspect that it was actually the kind of potential media fallout and the head-to-head between Buckingham Palace and Harry and Meghan's team refusing to corroborate stories and all of that. That's probably what the Queen was unhappy about.
These recent scandals, coupled with the long list of lies and drama since the Sussexes' wedding all those years ago, have given the couple a less than favourable reputation in the eyes of the public, says Spiked Online political reporter Brendan O'Neill.
Of other people, I think people are sick and tired of this whining celebrity couple from California. We are going through a cost of living crisis, an energy crisis. There are wars taking place. The last thing we need to hear is this woe is me act from literal royals who live it up in mansions in California. People are sick of their whining, their narcissism, their self-pity. What we want from royals is a bit of, public duty, a sense of loyalty, a sense of respect for the country, and we've never got that from Harry and Meghan.
You're so right.